So I love me some Zoe Kravitz, and if you didn't know, now you know. And we're all anticipating that new film, the Batman and whatnot. But I didn't know this was coming out, and I had to check it out. So here we go with my review of her new film, KIMI. What's up, folks, and welcome back to the channel today for another review. And today we're reviewing the film KIMI, which is available now on HBO Max. Now, again, I had not seen that this film was coming down the pipeline anywhere up until like recently, maybe a day ago. And now that it's available, I was like, hey, let's check it out and see what it's got. Yes, in terms of Zoe Kravitz, I love, and if you didn't know, now you know. All of us are anticipating the Batman where she will be Catwoman. That's going to be a huge movie in about a month now. But KIMI is a film that just released, and I looked at the synopsis and that looks pretty cool. And I just think like her aesthetic always brings that extra level of intrigue. She has this blue wig on, and you're kind of wondering what's up with that. You see her in certain scenes wearing a mask, so we're like deep in the pandemic, and it's always interesting to see films that exist in the world within the pandemic, and how does that play a part into the events that happens within it. But nonetheless, this film was I liked it. There was things I liked, and there's obviously things that I was just like, whatever. Let's get into it though. So she plays a character, Angela Childs, who is basically a stream interpreter for this new AI called KIMI. KIMI is pretty much like Alexa and Siri. However, the difference is that those two applications, they kind of grow because the algorithm continues to learn. This one, on the other hand, they actually have humans that interprets the different error files, or the misreads or whatever it may be, and then they understand them, and then assess whatever it is, and then updates the files, so that basically it updates daily because of the human interaction with it. So it learns smarter and better, they say, as in terms of like being a competitor against the other juggernauts such as Alexa and Siri. So her character Angela is definitely dealing with extreme anxiety and trauma, which they do go down and explain to you and whatnot. But she's an introvert. She doesn't like to leave her space. And she's damn good at her job. And and the fact that they're living in during the pandemic, it also doesn't help towards anything in terms of being outside of her space. So teleworking, being, she has a love interest of some sort that's across the street, telework, pandemic love and whatnot. It works. But in one of her cases where she was doing, as I say, the stream interpreter, she may have came across what potentially may be some type of sexual assault. And thus, this puts her in a very peculiar situation. Because, yes, it is a no-brainer that she should report this. Of course. But considering that what this application is trying to do, KIMI's trying to be competitive amongst the other juggernauts, it doesn't need bad press. And when you're talking about AI learning and listening and all sorts of whatever connectivities that they may have and access they may have, when she uncovers something because it's her duty, and now it's sort of a split between morality here as to your job says you're just supposed to do your job, listen to whatever the misread is, and mark it for whatever the classification is, error or whatever it needs to be, and elevate it to whatever level of severity that the error may be. But when she starts to really go within the audio, she finds out more, and it's now her to determine, do I actually report this or do I just let it go because it's outside of the terms of my job here? But as I said, it seems like a no-brainer considering also her past. She also feels like it's within her due diligence in order to bring light to this. But as I said, the company doesn't want bad press out there. So now with her trying to come up front with this, she wants to go to authorities, and she goes to the top of the chain in order to let them know. It becomes problematic for her. And it also makes her uncomfortable because this requires her to actually come outside of her space, outside of her condo, in order to be able to meet with the proper folks for this. So that's that. But hey, I got to tell you that Angela's very intelligent, so she absolutely knows what she's getting herself into this entire scenarios, and you know, she's not playing no one's dummies game, so she's totally equipped for knowing what is to come if she brings this out, you know. And that's where the film sort of turns into a cat and mouse game, because while she's trying to do the right thing, the other folks are trying to prevent her from doing such. So there's scandal involved, of course. There is, you know, there's all sorts of different things kind of happening, which I'll talk about in one quick second. Now, talking about the film, first of all, Zoe does a fantastic job in being this sort of awkward, paranoid, you know, this persona that she's putting on while all of this is happening. She's very standoffish, and she's totally an introvert back into the world. And I think we all remember when the pandemic was at its when we first entered it, and then at the point where restrictions started to come down, you started to enter to come back out, how things were just very awkward. I mean, it's easy for her to portray that because we're actually going through that now, but she does really a fantastic job in letting you understand like really where her mental's at in terms of all of this stuff. The cinematography, the camera was really shaky in this. I was like woozy more than enough because of how it was shot. And there was some cool visuals. I believe this was shot in Seattle, Washington. For a minute, I thought it was Toronto, but either way, the camera was shaky, and I was just feeling a little bit woozy. Was not a fan of that at all. But in terms of like the plot and everything, it's very, very simple here. I mean, we know how this happens. Big company got bad press on them. There's some scandal, cover-ups and stuff involved. Somebody paying somebody to take care of the job. And then now somebody is now becoming the target, and it's up for them to decide, you know, one, their own safety, but two, figuring out how to get the truth out here. So, you know, you've seen it once, you kind of seen it all here. And again, you know, that's the thing with AI, and we all wonder that. Well, how much information are they actually really gathering? And especially without our consent, and that's really where the core of this is at, and that's where this also makes this film relatable, because a lot of us think the same thing. How much is Siri listening to me now? Is Alexa listening to me now? I have both, but are they currently listening, you know? And that's where this kind of goes into with this. But yeah, the suspense is pretty solid. I got to say that, you know, you have to think about this with her character here. With her being uncomfortable with being outside, you know, because she eventually has to venture out in order to report what she's found. But eventually she comes back home where she is comfortable here. And that's where things start to get super interesting. It gets pretty cool, pretty good. And essentially it turns into Home Alone. Because that trouble that she went out not looking for was brought back home. And that's where now her home, her space, becomes Home Alone. That's pretty cool to kind of see her in that capacity here. But like I said, the plot wasn't meaty. In fact, you know, with the whole scandal, corruption and everything, it was just pretty meh. Like, again, you've seen it once, you've seen it all, so it's nothing like they're reinventing the wheel here. You pay somebody to clean up your mess, and et cetera, et cetera. Whether they get the job done or not before it's too late, and while the other person is trying to uncover and expose all of the events that happen, and then boom, end of the movie. But I will say that, like, I guess in terms of her character, I guess like now she's out of a job because like mission accomplished and whatnot. But it is cool because now she's back in the streets, and like and talking about the ending here, you know, now that she is, you know, has exposed everything, and then the lead guy has been arrested, immediately after that, you know, she's out on the streets with pink hair. You know, she's not wearing her mask, so she's kind of comfortable. She's with her neighbor across the street, her love interest and whatnot. So she seems to be in better spirits and whatnot. But all of this shouldn't have happened in such a big, you know, time span, because once she exposed it and she got to the proper authority, I mean, she called the cops at the end of this. It was a murder. Of course, they're going to immediately investigate this. I'm guessing dude had to have been arrested within 1 to 2 days. She already done changed her hair. That the pandemic looks like it's already gone. No one's wearing masks anymore. Like, things has moved pretty quickly, and I have no clue how, but I guess we'll just leave it at that. But nonetheless, again, it was a very easy film to digest. It was nothing very special. I thought Zoe's performance was amazing. I could be biased about it, but you know, I just think that when it comes down to certain roles, we see her very serious at times. We've seen her play so many different roles, you know, and the fact to kind of see her on this very introverted cat and mouse type of dynamic. I was digging it. It's pretty cool. It's almost relatable to an extent. You know, we all dreamed about what happens if we were going to play Home Alone, you know, one of the classics of our childhood. So like the fact that she got to reenact that within the movie, that was pretty cool, and I liked it and whatnot. But yeah, simple, fun. And now all roads lead to Batman, so we're all waiting for that. But hey, check out Kimi. It's on HBO Max. Jump in the comments, let me know your thoughts about it. And as always, stay tuned for more reviews very soon.